Hello, welcome to Cerulean Arts Gallery. Tonight we're speaking with Leah Macdonald in conjunction with her Cerulean Collective Exhibition, which is on view now through March the 10th. Hello, Leah.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Gonna just spotlight Tina's video. So tell us a bit about yourself and the show.
So I am an analog photographer by trade and started out in analog darkroom photography and just loved the alchemy of printing um, film and photographic papers. And at some point during college, I started really wanting to push the envelope on what I could do with photographic papers, and that included started to sort of include collage, mixed media arts, and eventually I discovered encaustic. So painting photographs um, with beeswax and oil paint. So now, all these years later, I like to combine my exhibitions with some of my older um, images or photographic analog images with my newer encaustic paintings because I find that I'm very much have a lot of the same interest in process, and yet I'm using totally different materials. So I feel like it's nice to have exhibition of um, both. And often there are photographs embedded or under the layers of the wax in my work that you may or may not even see.
So Leah, what appeals to you about encaustic?
Everything. um, Everything about encaustic is, I think, wonderful. It's a very organic material. It's very forgiving. It has a lot of opportunities to have what I call organic accidents or sort of like alchemistic type experiences where you're using heat and mixtures of pigments and materials together, and you don't always know exactly what's going to happen. So there's many unknowns and sort of discoveries along the way. And I think that I'm definitely a process artist as much as I'm consumed with the quality and content of the imagery. I'm also very, very engrossed in process.
And can you speak a little bit about the themes in your work?
Well, they're very girly. I mean, it's like, I don't know, stuff around me, stuff I think is beautiful, stuff I enjoy. I like being around other women. I've really enjoyed photographing women, and I kind of started in college. I think the first nude photograph I ever took was my first friend who had a baby, and I asked her to come in and get naked and pose with her newborn child. And it was kind of like right then and there, I was hooked. I don't know, just the whole experience of the way that the body looked in black and white, the way people's skin looked, the figure, the shapes. I mean, I teach a lot and I talk a lot about context and syntax, and that's sort of like the angles or like your unconscious, what you would draw if you like closed your eyes, how you would move your body. And I just think that what I photograph is sort of what I see in my unconscious or subconscious, and it's floral or feminine or figurative and nature. So I'm like a nature person, I guess. This particular work I decided to call wallpaper too, because I've always really, really, as a photographer, been drawn to texture and distress. And I think that's like probably the best word is the word distress, where things just look like they've been, beaten down by weather, rained on, left out in the cold, or, I mean, just the way nature is, how it treats our houses and our car, rust and sort of the natural processes that many things go through trying to live.
And so the photographs in this show, they're like analog prints, silver toned. Is that correct?
So the technical term for analog photographic prints is silver gelatin prints, and then a print like this this is actually, so I was as kind, I mean, you might call my work or my style sort of messy, but I feel like it's very just intuitive. I find that a lot of art, especially photography, can be very technical. So I've always lived in both worlds of the art world. I've lived in the very like precise, precision oriented, perfectionistic, commercial part of the art world. And that's like primarily how I make a part of my living. And I was a professional printer for 20 years. So when I printed for myself, I always kind of wanted to just like toss the cards, I like to say, where I just kind of threw things up in the air and let them fall where they fall. So I would like misuse chemicals or do things out of order intentionally, or mix chemicals together that weren't supposed to be mixed together, just sort of like chancing what would happen and experimentation, really. So the silver surfaces can be toned. Typical tones are like, they can be bleached, they can be sepia toned, they can be selenium toned, and a print can actually be multiple, it can have multiple toners. And the nice thing about analog paper, you can't print on it twice, but you can tone it like as many times as the paper will possibly endure. And I've disintegrated paper. I've had things that have just totally, completely fallen apart. So, but this particular encaustic show was really a lot for me about, now I think too, the work has taken a turn where I used to be very attentive to seeing the photographs. And now I feel like I'm more and more intentionally really trying to hide the photographs.
Yeah, and a lot of them you're not even aware there's a photograph there.
Right. So like, yeah, that's like, and that can be like artist secret, right? Like, I don't, and sometimes I don't, I do them in stages too. So like I do all the prints and collage work, and then I start painting them. These particular encaustic pieces have many, many layers. And I've sort of gotten a little bit obsessed about trying different formulas. Like, I guess it's the photographer in me that's used to like darkroom formulas, or, you know, chemical formulas to make the work. So I've been trying to make up formulas of the encaustic layers, where it's like light, dark, or dark, light, and then how many layers, and then fuse it all together, and then scrape, and how far do you scrape? So again, like each of these things are variables. Like this one, there's more photographs in there, actually photographs on the whole board, but then you only see that one woman. So it's kind of fun because you never, it's like fishing, you don't really know what you're going to catch.
And encaustic is an ancient technique.
Yeah, I think the date is 800. Yeah, and whenever I speak about encaustic, which I do very often in classes and such, I always like to say, because University of Pennsylvania actually has a beautiful, beautiful archaeology museum at Penn. Right, I said Penn, right? University of Pennsylvania. And they have a case. They have like 2 or 3 encaustic pieces from, I think they're Egyptian, and they used to use them to paint the faces on the tombs, the encaustic. So those are the pieces that are here in Philly. But I think the Greeks and Romans originally used the encaustic to glaze pots and paint. Have you guys ever been to, has anybody ever been to Ireland? Like in Ireland, the sheep are all loose, and then they spray paint them different colors so they know whose sheep it is. Have you been to Ireland? So it's pretty funny because you'll see like a field of sheep, and then one will have a big red splotch on it, and one will have a blue. So
Mhm.
that's what I've heard that they originally used encaustic for, was to sort of identify by color their boats and ceramics.
Huh.
But I mean, that was a long time.
So speaking of teaching, you're doing a workshop here on Sunday. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I am. So I'm going to teach, the basics of photo encaustic, such as priming the surface with in wax medium, and then building up color layers using stencils, adding encaustic paints, fusing, burning, just the kind of basic steps of encaustic. And each person's allowed to do work on 2 different photographs on boards and just have fun experimenting with the medium.
And there's still some space, so people can still jump in if they want to.
Yeah, tomorrow might be the last day just because I have to print stuff still, but yeah,
Right.
sign up tomorrow, Friday.
Hmm.
Or, I mean, and you know what? You don't have to work on a photograph either. I always encourage people, um, who like encaustic to work on it. It's kind of like having more than one child, like you want to spend alone time. You want to be with the family, be with everybody, right? Get everybody all together. But it's also nice to spend time alone with each person individually. So I encourage encaustic artists or people learning encaustic, if they want to mix it with media, to spend time with each of the media to know what it does and sort of what you have at stake with each of the individual mediums before you put them all together. Or every once in a while too, I'll totally just pull it apart and just work on my photography or just work with encaustic without always working together. It's just good practice. I'm always curious too I'm not really a painter, so I'm always curious, like, what would I paint without the photographs?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I am at this stage, all these years, I'm a painter, but
Right.
I was a photographer first, is what I think I meant to say. I love that picture, it's so cute. And the babies, we used to have all the babies, because we would be moms with babies and making photographs, and so the babies would appear randomly.
Yeah, you don't notice the baby at first. You see the woman, and then all of a sudden you
Yeah,
surprise, there's a baby down there.
yeah. There's probably babies in the bushes back here in this. No, there's probably baby ran through the frame right before I clicked it. Yeah, those are good times. Yeah, I mean, I'm often very, surprised, I mean, I've always liked that element of surprise with art, I guess, just, putting my hands in it and seeing, how it turns out and understanding the medium and then sort of letting it do its thing. Kind of push and pull type relationship, I guess. Yeah, and the photographs were all made before. All the analog photographs were made before, I'm gonna say like 2015, 14 or 15. And so I basically have it's been like an art practice unto itself, is sort of archiving the first 20 years of my photographic career, like, because lots of prints were made and never seen, never shown, never seen. So it's nice to sort of be visiting. It's almost like another artist. I mean, it's me, but it's like another time of my life when I was in the darkroom all the time. So still a very important part of who I am.
Well, it's a beautiful show, Leah.
Thank you. I do think it's nice to have more than, I like the balance of the encaustic and the photography together.
Yeah, they play off each other nicely.
Yeah.
And the show's up through March 10th, and the workshop is this Sunday. So if people want to sign up, then go to the website. And thanks, Leah, for joining me tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.